because it seems now Senator Cody has something coming up. So we have Senator Lesniak, Senator Cody.
And there
We're
doesn't
not
seem to
going to
be
escape.
much of a difference between the two. Just want to say hi, everybody. I'm Josh Einstein from SaveJersey.com. We're small government conservatives, so we naturally aren't a big fan of the state taking possession of foreclosed homes, going against the grain when it comes to our tradition of home rule, and mandating that these homes are essentially out of the reach of the local community. It's all good and nice to say that we wanna help recovering addicts, and we want to help rehabilitate people, and we obviously do. But that has to come from a place that's ground up, whether it's a civic society, whether it's nonprofits, or whether it's the municipalities themselves, not from the heavy hand of big government in Trenton telling people this is what they have to do and taking housing stock off the market,
Right.
lowering our property values, lowering the ability, if we want to sell houses, our homes, because now there is something that makes it less marketable
Right.
down the block. It's a decision that should remain on the local level. It should have input from the people. And were the state to be able to do this, those homes that would be possessed by the state and turned into rehab centers and turned into halfway houses are then mandated that they have to stay affordable housing for 30 years.
Right. So your neighbors in the neighborhood, they're stuck. And it just seems that, that 30-year, and it should be a local issue. It's not something that the state should run. It becomes then, like an unregulated monopoly. Who's going to say no? And what are the politicians' decisions going to be based on? I mean, it seems it's based on right now what makes them look good, as opposed to really looking at the unintended consequences of the decision.
Well, I mean, the other issue is that anytime we have, the higher levels of government doing things, we create massive bureaucracies. And if there's anything that this administration has been trying to do, it's been trying to shrink the size of government, shrink the burden that we have, shrink the bureaucracy. This would add another layer of
Sure.
bureaucracy, and it's very common to say that our government, our bureaucratic elements, to be nice to them, haven't been very successful at their current missions, let alone adding another layer and another mission.
Exactly.
You don't think so, huh?
Some might call me a skeptic, you know.
Well, it depends what their
Absolutely.
mission is. I mean, their mission that whenever you hear numbers like 30 years down the road, it has to stay this way for 30 years down the road.
Exactly.
This is not an American concept where things have to stay a certain way for 30 years down the road if it's a government plan. If it's freedom, yeah, every year,
Right.
every day, that's the pursuit. But now we've gotten to this situation where, oh, it just has to stay this way for this allotment of time. So who calls the shots 30 years down the road?
Exactly.
Well, I think the effort comes from a good place to try to rebuild our communities and try to help people in need. But the real thing that helps people in need isn't government mandates, isn't the state capital telling our local communities what they have to do. It's getting the government, whether it's the state or at the federal level, off the people's back and allowing them to create their own prosperity, whether it's through
Exactly.
lowering taxes or getting rid of red tape or downsizing the bureaucracy. That's the problem. The problem isn't that we don't have enough government, and that's something that Democrats across the board, whether it's in Trenton or whether it's in Washington, don't understand. They think we can build more bureaucracy out of the problem, but bureaucracy, government is the problem, and it's in people's way. And if we can build a more prosperous society by downsizing our government and upsizing or growing our private sector, then there will be less people in need. Then people will be able to continue to donate the way they have historically in America, more than other countries, to private organizations and nonprofits that help the needy. But really, I totally agree with the un-American, heavy-handed approach that you were talking about.
Right, and it takes away the flavor of each locality. I mean, what are we all going to then look the same? You move into different locations, different towns, because they offer something different. And then by having it, pretty much all the same, you take away how each municipality wants to run.
Right, you restrict their way of also growing the way they
Right, the
want
way
to,
they
or
do.
whatever happens in society regarding, the particular families that grow up there, or the way they play a part, the government gets their hand in there and basically starts to do the shaping rather than the community
Right,
doing
and
the
then we
shaping.
have the choices and the opportunities to decide where it is that we want to go.
Well, you also another problem is you also have these ridiculous standards that don't seem to actually ever say that someone's not in need now or a community's not in need. You know, where
Everyone's in
I
need.
come from, Hoboken, we were talking about before,
Right.
it's still, you know, an Abbott district or a quote unquote former Abbott district. And it's still receiving state support. But I mean, if there's a Gold Coast along New Jersey, Hoboken is the Gold Coast.
Exactly.
And the fact that my municipality, my town, which I love, don't get me wrong, it's the best town. I love it.
Right.
Get state support when there are other towns that are in need is absolutely ridiculous. But you know, once government bureaucracy says XYZ, this town's in need, you know, it's in need forever,
Forever.
even if it has an amazing comeback like Hoboken has. And
Absolutely.
I honestly feel bad that my municipality gets more state funding than other places, which, you know, it's
really
their tax
isn't.
dollars. I mean, it's just absolutely silly.
Right, and that's the one thing that people just seem to forget. Getting federal money, getting state aid, it's just all a shell game with your money. I mean, you know, the federal government gets it by taxing, by printing it, or by borrowing from China. So at the end of the day, every time you add a layer of government, where are they going to get the money? So on top of knocking down your property taxes, I mean, your property value, your property taxes end up going up because now you have to pay for this. You have to pay for people to run the bureaucracy and, you know, benefits and everything else, and that's a pretty expensive,
Well, your town in Hoboken, your city of Hoboken rather, they haven't turned around and said, well, you know, we're kind of flourishing, we don't need this anymore. I mean, do people actually go, we're not gonna give away the grant money, we're not giving it back, sorry.
Right.
And they just basically do that rather than say, hey, we're good now, hey, you can have it.
Yeah,
thanks,
You know, they don't,
off to helping the next town.
No one says
No.
no thank you to free money.
Here's
You know,
the
it's free,
problem.
if the state is willing to give it, while it may be morally dubious for the leadership of my town to accept, I don't blame them at all. When people throw free money at you, you know, no
Right,
little strings attached, I think it behooves you to take it.
Probably.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're labeled, you know, the bad guy if you don't.
Exactly.
So, which leads us into the next topic. The governor is proposing construction of affordable housing in towns with top schools. So,
Well,
we have our Mount Laurel decisions. So, go ahead, Josh.
While I'm a big
are your
fan of
thoughts?
Governor Christie, I think
Right.
this has the same problem of the heavy hands of
I was
Trenton.
kind of shocked, actually, when I saw that.
Yeah, I think the same thing with what the Democrats were proposing. I think it comes from a good place, but I think it's off the mark.
Right, right. I mean, we have Mount Laurel decisions, we do have affordable housing. But of course, you know, when you go against these things, you're labeled as you don't care about people, you don't care about the schools. But we have inner city school districts that are spending a lot of money per kid, and they're still not coming out educated. So it seems really that's the place where the problem is, not where you live.
Well, I mean, something that we stress at SaveJersey.com, and it has a wide range of different writers from different places in the conservative political thought. But something that we're all united about is that, you know, the way to grow the economy, the way to help people, is to give them the tools to help themselves and to empower them to make their own decisions.
Right.
Because yes, people can make the wrong decision, but they can also pick up and then try again.
Right.
But if there's government bureaucracy that's in the way, then when it hits the wrong decision, that's it. Well, everyone's
Exactly.
essentially stonewalled.
how much of this now, I mean, I see here that it's a $18 million federal low-income housing tax credit, so it's coming from the federal government.
Right. But Eddie, hold on to that thought because I think
Okay.
we're coming up to a break. Thank you. We'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to read my little commercial, right? Okay. Let me just get my train of thought. I feel a little off today. Sorry.
This is really cool that you guys do this.
It's fun,
This
right?
is really cool. Oh my God.
All right, Eddie, so you talk about that, and then we're going to talk about the no interest loans. Okay, I'm ready to go on. Thank you for listening to Common Sense, a production of Citizens for Limited Government, a nonprofit 501c3 educational organization, as we bring you the limited government free market solutions to today's problems. Common Sense is a listener-supported radio program that depends upon your donations to continue sharing our common message. With your support and partnership, we can continue to make an impact. You can make a difference by supporting our effort to bring this message to the airways so we can reach even more people. If you like what you're hearing today and would like to support our program, please contact me at sueann.penna@yahoo.com to learn about our donation options. All donations are tax deductible as allowed by law and are used to support the radio program and general operating expenses. Your contribution on a monthly or one-time basis is greatly appreciated, and every gift is important. You can continue to join the conversation by joining us on Facebook at facebook.com/limitedgov2011. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your support. Well, welcome back, everyone. We're here with Eddie Malavarca, our guest host, and Josh Einstein from SaveJersey.com
How you
as we
doing?
talk about the limited government issues and things going on in New Jersey. Eddie, you were-
Yes, I had, we were talking earlier
Oh.
before the break about, are we rolling?
I think we're good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we were talking
I hear
earlier
our fun
about
music in the
the
background, just making
affordable
sure.
housing that possibly Christie is promoting anyway. It's a proposal.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're here with Eddie Malavarca, our guest host, and Josh Einstein, a writer for SaveJersey.com, as we bring you the limited government solutions to what's going on today. And Eddie, we were talking about affordable housing, so
Yes, Governor Christie possibly promoting through the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency an $18 million federal low-income housing tax credit. So he's taking federal money and basically figuring out how to disperse low-income housing generally, right? Do I have that right so far?
Yes.
Okay, so the one quote here that kind of, in this article, that kind of gets me a little worried, a lot worried actually, is a quote from Governor Christie. My administration is committed to expanding housing options for the most vulnerable citizens as part of our long-term comprehensive plan to combat homelessness.
And who's going to foot the bill in the long term? Eventually, those federal dollars will dry up, and then we'll hear another call to raise taxes coming from the Democrats. I think we need to keep housing as a home rule as possible. As we said before, there's Mount Laurel, and COA has been such a failure that Christie wanted to redesign it, really take it apart. Because it was such a lack of success. So I'm very wary about these efforts that are coming out of Trenton, whether it's Christie, who in the main doesn't do these sort of things, or usually the Democrats, that it's their bread and butter. But whoever does it, I think it's a bad idea for the citizens of the state of New Jersey, and it's a bad idea for our local communities.
Right.
And not only that, I mean, as we were growing up, you saved your money and you bought a home. Now, suddenly home ownership has been seen as a right as opposed to something that you work towards. And that shift in thinking is, we have to, who's going to pay for it then? I mean, you saved for a down payment, you went through your budget, the bank approved you based on your financials, and then we had banks just, sending through loans, and then we had the housing bust. So it's also is a shift in that thinking of home ownership now is a right, and everyone should have a home. And just like college, before, my parents saved up to send me through college. Now kids are walking out the door with, 80 grand and better loans.
Well, I think